what happens is we think that because people know us throughout our lives, they're like, oh, they just support everything we do. No, they know you as Darren the friend, Darren the family member. They don't know you as Darren the entrepreneur, the clothing store owner, right? So okay, so what's up everybody? So this is going to be the first episode of my series, Humble Hustle. And on this video, I just simply want to talk about the top 5 things that I've learned since I've started my business. And I will say not just my business, but my entrepreneurship journey, because the business that I'm currently working on is not the first business that I started. So what's up, had to finish the video in another room. However, we're just gonna keep going. So like I was saying, so first is why entrepreneurship? Like, how did I get here? My whole entire life, I've kind of always been interested in creating my own business, creating something that's mine and being able to present that to the world. So whether it was, selling candy in like middle school, like using my mom's food stamps to buy candy and then reselling it at school, or it was creating sewing my first shirt in college and really wanting to start a clothing brand back then, it's definitely been something that I've been wanting to do for a very, very long time. And I finally decided to really put energy into making that dream a reality. So, like I stated, the business that I am doing now is not the first business that I've ever started. So the first business that I really started was back in, I think, 2019, when I started my clothing brand, Humble Culture. Even before that, I had kind of dabbled into trying to start some things, but never really put the energy into it. My clothing brand was the first thing that I actually legitimately tried to start. Humble Culture, that started first. I kind of started that business and realized that I didn't really have the resources that I needed to do it the way that I wanted to do it. So then I transitioned to my jewelry brand, my fashion accessory brand, which is called Mojo, which has been doing a lot better. And it's doing better just because I was able to get the inventory. Like, I'm able to get inventory in at a low cost, and I'm also able to try new inventory, like try new things and get new things made at a lower cost as well. When you're buying clothing and samples are like $100 a sample and you need X, Y, Z many samples, that starts to add up. Not to talk about the other costs that are associated with it as well. Transitioning to Mojo and transitioning to a jewelry business just made business and strategic sense to me. And so that's what I did. So along this entrepreneurship journey, I've learned a couple things, a lot of things actually. But I feel like there are 5 things that I've learned that have stuck with me and that I feel like are the pillars to how I'm able to continue to kind of push this business forward without giving up. And there are times that I definitely want to give up, and it definitely does seem like, what am I doing? Am I doing this for anything? But then there's moments that like validate the fact that not only is my ideal a good business idea, but I'm actually having and creating products that people actually like and enjoy, especially with my jewelry business. Like seeing someone wear my piece, not just one time, but like seeing one of my pieces become a part of somebody's like everyday wear, like, that's like fulfilling to me. That's in itself validating that I'm creating a good product. It's affordable. Not only is it affordable, but it's quality, so you can wear it many times, and it's just cool. Like I like creating cool stuff. I like I like looking good myself, so I like to make other people look good. So getting into the things that I've learned. I would say the first thing that I learned, and probably the most important for a new entrepreneur, somebody who's just trying to start out, is just start. That's number one. You have to start. And you have to like really start. There's there's a way that you can like start where you can like dabble your feet in it and kind of see. But the biggest thing is to start. You have to start somewhere, whether it's selling one item just out of your Instagram bio and DMs, you're just selling to people before you have a website. You just have to start. Like, because starting is not the hardest part, but it seems like it's the hardest part before you start. Once you start, you're going to realize that there are other things that are going to be harder than that. You're going to come up against other obstacles, but it's like starting is the point where it's like you can't get there unless you start, right? So you have to start. That's number one. So whatever it is you want to do, whatever it is that you're thinking about, whatever business idea you have, however you can start and just create something and show people, however you can start. That is like the number one. I think I spent so many years of my entrepreneurship journey with not starting or wanting to start but never really starting. Like I said, there were a lot of businesses before Humble Culture and before Mojo that I just thought about, and that like I thought I was starting it by like, oh, I'm gonna make a shirt in college and see how, I'm gonna buy a sewing machine. I'm gonna dabble in it this bit, but you really have to start and you have to commit, right? You have to start and commit. So that'll be the first thing that I would say. First thing is start. Number two biggest thing that I've learned is that once you start, right? Remember, starting was number one. Once you start, is that number two, you can't expect immediate success, immediate support. You can't. I mean, even with people that are in your everyday life, people, your friends, your family, right? And it's not to say that they don't love you or support you. It's just that everybody wants to start a business, right? In starting, you also have to be willing to prove yourself. You also have to be willing to show people why they should support you, right? Because what happens is we think that because people know us throughout our lives, they're like, oh, they just support everything we do. No, they know you as Darren the friend, Darren the family member. They don't know you as Darren the entrepreneur, the clothing store owner, right? So that would be the second thing that I learned that is a valuable lesson, is that like you have to then reintroduce yourself as the entrepreneur, right? And you have to prove that what you're doing is actually a business and actually viable. You have to prove that. Like you can't skip over that part, right? You have to be just committed to that. So with that means that nobody is just going to blindly support you right off the bat. Like, no matter how close you are, it's just not going to happen. You have to show people why you deserve their support. So that's number two. So number one is to just start. And then number two is that once you start, you cannot expect people to just blindly support you without proving your concept first, right? So moving on to number three, which should be probably the most obvious out of all of them, is that you have to sell. You have to sell. Like, business is selling, buying and selling, but as an entrepreneur, your business is selling. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go and do door-to-door sales and sell your product to everybody that buys it, but you have to be able to sell in general. So whether it's you collaborating, getting influencers to collaborate you, you have to be able to sell them on to why they should collaborate you. Like, why should they wear your stuff and promote your stuff, right? You have to be able to sell that. You have to be able to make ads and make content that sells, right? Does it have to be, hey, does it have to be like a HSN display where like, hey, I'm selling this, you should buy this? No, but you have to sell. Again, it kind of goes back to number 2, is that like you can't expect people to just understand what it is that you're offering and to automatically click, right? You have to be able to sell your vision of what your business is at all times and in all ways. So yes, sometimes that's like direct selling. So I've done a market before where like, I'm actually selling my physical product in front of people. They're coming up to my table, asking me about it. Like, that type of selling is easy to me. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's just like, hey, I'm selling this product. But again, it's learning how to sell on many different ways. So your brand in every aspect. Again, whether it's if you're collaborating, if you're working with influencers, is be able to sell your vision of what your brand is so that people can believe in it. A lot now, people aren't buying into a lot of products. They're buying into brands. What does your brand represent? What does your brand say about what you're selling, right? And how does that connect with the customers? So you have to be able to sell. You just have to. Selling is important. So if you got to take sales classes, if you got to do X, Y, and Z to figure out how to really sell your product, then you have to learn how to sell. Number 4 is going to be keep learning, or realizing that the whole process is a continuous learning process. Even when I started Humble Culture and kind of stopped and then went into Mojo, there was a point where I had kind of just took a break. And then when I came back to Mojo, there was some stuff that I had to relearn again that I had already did with Humble Culture. But I had to realize that as long as you continue this journey, there's always going to be something new to learn. You're always going to kind of feel like a fish out of water through this process. It's always going to be times where you feel like you're uncomfortable, but that's what growth feels like, or so they say. So you have to keep learning. Like, you have to be able to take every situation, every obstacle, and be able to learn from it and grow from it. And learning from it is a way that helps you to keep going, because if you look at it as a learning opportunity and not necessarily a failure, then it's easier to take those hits, right? If you're like, oh, this is just me learning, versus like, oh, this failed. So definitely number 4, keep learning. Always keep learning. Keep trying to better whatever business it is that you're doing in any way you can. Keep learning. And then last but not least, and this is probably the most important, and all of these points kind of go into lead into the next point, and this is kind of like the final one. That's like all of those things lead up to this. And what you really need to know, and biggest thing that I've learned, number 5, is consistency and perseverance. Not giving up. Sometimes reaching your goal can take a month, sometimes it can take years, right? The time is relative. Time happens regardless. What you never want to do is give up. If you keep going, you will get there eventually. Now again, it may take longer for some instances, it may be shorter for some, but you have to keep going to get there. You're going to come against obstacles. It's not going to be easy all the time, right? People aren't going to just support you, right? People aren't just going to buy your stuff because it looks cool. You have to sell it. Like, you're going to come up against these obstacles. And the only thing you can do is number 4 and number 5, which is to learn and then continue to go. Consistency. Continue to push it if you believe in it, right? Consistency and perseverance is what's going to be the number one, because at the end, the race isn't given to the swift, it's given to those who endure to the end. That is a saying because it is true. It is true. Sometimes the race ain't gonna be short. Sometimes it's not gonna be a 100-meter race. Sometimes it's gonna be a marathon. And sometimes it's just gonna take you to stick it out. So that's number one, is just start. Don't get caught up on what you need, what you have, what you don't have. Start. Like, once you get started, you will know what you need and what you don't have. Like, but you have to start. So start. 2 is you can't expect anybody to blindly support you. You're going to have to prove your dream, your goal, your vision. You're going to have to prove that to people before people are going to sign up to be like, yeah, we champion behind this cause or this business. 3 is you have to learn how to sell. Selling is just a part of business. Selling yourself, selling your business, selling your vision. That is just a part of business. 4 is keep learning. Everything is an opportunity to learn. Every time you fail, every time you come against an obstacle, you have to learn from it and grow from it. And last but not least is to remain consistent and persevere through it all. It is not going to be easy. It is not easy now, but again, I've seen more success the more I've pushed past and continued than I've ever seen from just like trying one time and being like, oh, it doesn't work, right? Keep going, persevere, consistency, right? Those are the top 5 things that I've learned as I've started my entrepreneurship journey and as I've been starting my businesses. And I hope that me sharing this with you can help you along your journey. Definitely like, comment, subscribe if you feel like I was wrong, if you feel like there are 5 better things that somebody could have learned or that you've learned that you want to share. Definitely drop those in the comments. But I thank you for watching this video. Again, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you.